Now electrical signals can be classified into two types. Okay, one is the analog signals, and second one is digital signals. Now what is an analog signal? Okay, for example, if I'm considering this is a particular say a device that is an ammeter. Okay, suppose say this is 1, 2, okay. Now can you tell me how much is the reading over here? See how many steps are over here? 1, 2, 3, 4. It means each division is how much? 0.25.
Oh, yeah.
Correct? So this reading that you are getting is 1.25 amperes.
Yeah.
But suppose if you are having a reading somewhere over here. Okay, now between these two values, that is this one and this one, there will be infinite number of possible readings, because you will not be able to come to know how much exactly the reading is. So this is going to be an analog signal or an analog measuring device. I will consider another measuring device. Okay, for example, you are having your ordinary calculator is there. Okay, a calculator is going to have this kind of output. Now all these lines that are there, whether the presence is there or the absence is there, it is going to indicate a particular number. Okay, for example, if these lines are present, then what is the number that it indicates?
6.
Correct, it's 6. That is because this line is not present. If this line is present, then what number it is going to indicate?
8.
Is going to become 8. Now suppose if I remove a middle line from here, then what number it is going to indicate?
0.
Is going to become 0. It means this line that is there, whether that line is shown, that is it is visible, or it is not visible, it means this particular line is either that signal is present or it is not present. So there are only two possibilities in case of digital signals. Either the current is passing, in that case that particular line will be shown, or that current is not present, in that case, as I have seen over here, this line, okay, that line is not present. This is known as either 0, it means the current is not there, or 1, it means the current is present. A digital signal has only two options, while an analog signal which is there, as I have said, between these 2 points, there will be infinite number of readings. That is the difference between an analog signal and a digital signal. A digital signal can have only 2 values, either 1 or 0. When 1 is there, it means the current is flowing. When 0 is there, it means there is no signal or there is no current. As I've shown you in this example of the particular number that is shown by a calculator, I can just remove any one particular number over here, and I can say, suppose if it is showing this kind of a signal, then what is the number that is indicated?
2.
Okay, so this is the difference between the digital signal and an analog signal. When this line is present, it means the current is passing through that particular part of the socket and the signal is there. And if it is not there, okay, in that case there will be no current and that particular signal is not there. The first kind of device that we are considering is a diode. Now see, you have done what is cathode, what is anode. Basically there are two electrodes, but both of these two electrodes are separated. When you say diode, it means it is combination of both of these electrodes. Di means two. Okay, now what does this diode consist of? One is going to be this material, which is going to be known as p-type. The second material which is going to be there, that is going to be known as n-type. Okay, this both together is known as p-n junction diode. All right.
Yeah.
So this is p-n junction diode. Now what does this p mean and what does this n mean? Okay, normally if you see, this is made up of materials, combination of materials which consist of semiconductors. Now you have done what are conductors and what are insulators. Conductors are those materials which conduct electricity very well. For example, copper, silver, gold, etc. Most metals will be good conductors or simply conductors. Insulators, which will be those materials which will not conduct electricity at all. For example, rubber, plastic, wood, etc. Even in elements also we can have non-metals like phosphorus, sulfur. These materials normally will not be able to conduct electricity. Semiconductors is a combination of third of these class. Okay, because normally material like conductors, copper, they will be having free electrons. These are going to be metallic electrons. There will be a sea of electrons which will be responsible for conduction of electricity. Here there are no free electrons in case of insulators. Okay, they will be having 6 or 7 electrons in their last shell. These elements will be having either 1 or 2 or 3 electrons in their last shell. Semiconductors are those materials which will be having 4 electrons in their outermost shell or in the last shell. For example, here we can consider example of silicon and germanium. These are substances which are semiconductors. It means they are half conductors. Now when you mix them with some other element, mixing up of semiconductors plus some other element like either phosphorus or boron is there. This mixing up of substances is known as doping. Now doping means simply either mixing silicon with phosphorus or silicon with boron. Now what does this give? Phosphorus is having 5 electrons in its outermost shell. Silicon is having 4 electrons in its outermost shell. So if suppose your silicon is bonding with phosphorus, okay, the bonding will be like this. Now silicon is having 4 of its electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll show with a different color. Phosphorus is having how many electrons? 5 electrons are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that 5th extra electron which is there, it is going to be in between. Now this extra electron which is there, it is going to carry a negative charge. Because it is negative charge, it is known as n-type. If there is an element like boron which is having 3 electrons, okay, you can show the bonding similar as we have shown in the first case. Okay, here silicon is there, that is bonded with boron. Silicon is having 4 of its electrons, 1, 2, 3 and 4. While boron is having only 3 electrons. okay, which can be shown like this: 1, 2, and 3. It means here a gap is there. There is an empty space. This gap is positive because there is a shortage of electron. This is known as p-type. And when you are combining both of these together, as we have seen in the previous diagram, these both together, when you are combining, we will call them p-n junction diode. Okay, this is the part of p-n junction diode. Now what is the function of this diode? Okay, we'll just come to that part. What is the function, or what is the use of this diode? Now see, here we have seen that this is p-n junction diode. Suppose this is p-type and this is n-type. I am applying a battery over here like this. The potential difference is applied. This is the positive terminal, this is the negative terminal. Now this is positive terminal and this part is also positive. It means here the current will start flowing. But if I am applying the signal in the reverse way, suppose here N is there and here P is there. In this case, the current is not going to flow. So in one side, from one side the current will start flow, and from other side the current will not flow. Okay. So a diode will allow the flow of current in one direction only. Suppose if this is the symbol of diode. When I am representing like this part is the p-type and p part, and this side which is there, that is the n part. Okay. So when you apply potential difference, current is going to flow in one particular direction. If the current is allowed to flow, if you try to make the current flow through other direction, the current is not going to. That's how digital signals will be created. Either the current is there or the current is not there. This is going to be a transistor. Okay, now as I've said before, diode is having 2 terminals. A transistor has 3 terminals. Okay, I'll just show that how symbolically transistor is represented. This part which is in the middle line, that is known as the base. Where an arrow is indicated, this is known as the emitter. And where the arrow is not present, this part is known as the collector. So suppose if this is P, then this will be N, and then again over here P will be there. Okay, so there will be 3 terminals basically. This is what a transistor is going to be. Now what is the use, or what is the function of this transistor? See, a transistor, the basic function is going to be, it is going to act like a switch. Okay, now how does it act like a switch? In simple language, if you say, if there is a base current, then the current flows through the collector and it passes through the emitter. The value of base current is very small, while the value of emitter current, collector emitter current, is very large. So a small amount of base current is able to operate or allow a large amount of collector current. This is going to be the position of the transistor when it is in on position or on condition. Suppose if the base current is not there, in that case the current, the collector current will be blocked over here. There will be no emitter current as well. Okay, we are not going to go into the details of how, why and how the base current starts the current or stops the current, but this is what the basic is, that a small amount of base current allows a large amount of collector emitter current. This statement is very important. And if there is no base current, then collector emitter current is not allowed. In that condition, the transistor will be said to be in the off position, it means it is going to switch off the current. So even if the current tries to flow from here, but if base current is not there, then even the emitter current also will be blocked. It is not going to be there. Now we are going to see this with the help of a couple of examples. The first example that I'm going to take is that of a fire alarm circuit. Okay, to understand the fire alarm circuit, we are supposed to consider first the functioning of a thermistor. Now basically, what is a thermistor? Before we have done, there are two types of conductors. One is ohmic conductors. The other one is non-ohmic conductors. Ohmic conductor simply obeys Ohm's law. It means here if I'm plotting the graph of V against I, this graph is going to be a straight line. So V upon I is a constant. This value is known as resistance. Most metallic conductors are ohmic conductors. Non-ohmic conductors are those which are not going to obey Ohm's law. So their graph of V is to I is not going to be a straight line. Okay, thermistor is one of the examples of non-ohmic conductors. Generally for ohmic conductors, as the temperature increases, the resistance also increases. Okay, now thermistor is an example of a non-ohmic conductor where it is reverse. As the temperature increases, the resistance decreases. This is the value of resistance, this is the value of temperature. Okay, so as the temperature is increasing, when you are moving like this, the value of resistance is decreasing. And obviously V and I graph also will look like this only. Okay, as the temperature increases, resistance decreases. Now how we are going to make this use in combination with transistor to make a circuit of a fire alarm. Okay, I'm going to draw over here two circuits. Both of them will look alike. Okay, this is your base. Okay, you are putting the arrow over here. So this is your emitter. And the other part of the circuit is your collector. The potential difference is applied from this side. This is going to be the source of current. Here there is going to be a buzzer, which is going to be the alarm. On the other side here, I'm going to put a thermistor. I will just give you the symbol of thermistor. The thermistor symbol is like this. Just make one line this way and draw one line like this. Okay, so the thermistor is kept over here. You can just draw the line anywhere, this way or this way. And here one more resistance will be there. Okay, here also I'm going to put the thermistor. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you draw the thermistor this way or this way. It's both same. And of course a resistance will be there. Correct? Now there is no difference between both of these circuits. I'll put this as circuit number 1 and here I'll put this as circuit number 2. Now suppose here the thermistor is in contact with low temperature. The thermistor is in contact with low temperature, it means at that time its resistance is high. Remember, whenever high resistance is there, current cannot flow through that part. It means through this part the current is not allowed to flow. It means there is no base current. If the base current is not there, the collector emitter current also will not be there. The transistor is going to be in the off condition. All right.
Yes.
Now I'm taking the second part. Suppose here due to fire there is high temperature. Now when there is high temperature, the thermistor is in contact. As the temperature increases, resistance of thermistor decreases. That's why now the current will start flowing through the base. As the current flows through the base, a large amount of collector emitter current also flows through this. Here the buzzer is there, this buzzer starts ringing. Alright, so the high temperature is because of what? It's because of some fire that decreases the resistance of the thermistor. As the resistance of the thermistor through this decreases, the base current starts flowing. And as the base current starts flowing, the collector emitter current also starts flowing, which ultimately rings the buzzer. In this case, the transistor is in on position. Okay, this is the basic circuit of a fire alarm. Okay, if you are going to interchange the position of this resistor and the thermistor, if you interchange these both, then this device can be used as an antifreeze. It will be other way around. When the temperature decreases, at that time the buzzer will ring. Okay, so this is the basic circuit of the fire alarm.